There's a powder sitting on the shelf of almost every grocery store in America that can destroy an entire ant colony in 24 hours. It costs less than $1 per application. It's been registered as a pesticide in the United States since 1948. It kills the workers, the soldiers, the larvae, and the queen. Every single one of them. And it does it from the inside out, using the colony's own survival instincts against itself. For over a century, this was the #1 ant killer in every American household. Your great-grandmother had a box of it next to her washing machine. She didn't need a phone number for a pest service. She didn't need a quarterly contract. She needed a teaspoon, a bowl, and 5 minutes. Then pest control turned into a $26 billion machine, and a powder that cost pennies had to disappear from public memory. They didn't stop recommending it because it failed. They stopped talking about it because it worked too well. A substance that eliminates your ant problem for less than $1 cannot generate a $250 service call, and what cannot generate a service call cannot sustain a recurring revenue empire. This is the story of the cheapest, most effective ant killer ever discovered, and the billion-dollar industry that prayed you'd never find this video. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the best way to keep this knowledge alive. This is where we dig up what the outdoor and home industry buried. Now let me take you back to 1881, Death Valley, California, the hottest place on the surface of the earth. A prospector named Aaron Winters is living in a stone hovel carved into a hillside near Furnace Creek with his wife, Rosie. Their shelter is described in historical records as a hole half hewn from the rock, with a thatched roof pressed against the desert hill. They are barely surviving. One night, a wandering prospector named Henry Spiller stumbles in from the desert and tells them about a strange white mineral being pulled from dry lake beds across the border in Nevada. Spiller describes crystals that look like cotton balls scattered across the salt flats. Winters freezes because he has seen those exact crystals before, littered across the marshes near his own camp. That same night, Aaron scrapes some of the white powder into a tin pan, holds a flame underneath, and watches it burn bright green. The green flame test, an ancient and unmistakable indicator of one specific mineral, borax. A mineral that had been carried along the Silk Road since ancient times, prized in Tibet and Central Asia for centuries before a single American prospector knew its name. Within months, a San Francisco businessman named William Tell Coleman buys the mineral rights to the entire deposit and builds the Harmony Borax Works, the first successful commercial borax refinery in the Death Valley region. But there's a problem that almost kills the whole operation before it begins. The nearest railroad station sits 165 miles away, across some of the most brutal waterless terrain on the North American continent. Summer temperatures in the valley regularly exceed 130 degrees. There are no roads, no reliable water between stops, and no freight system on Earth built to handle the load. So Coleman commissions massive custom-built wagons, each engineered to carry 10 tons of refined borax, pulled by a team of 18 mules and 2 horses, the legendary 20-mule team. Fully loaded, with 2 ore wagons and a 1,200-gallon water tank, the entire rig weighs over 36 tons. It crawls 17 miles a day through scorching desert heat, and the round trip from the Borax Works to the Mojave Railroad Station takes 20 days. A new team left the works every 4 days like clockwork, and across 6 continuous years of hauling from 1883 to 1889, not a single animal was lost, and not a single wagon broke down. 20 million pounds of borax were dragged out of that furnace by mules and men. By the late 1800s, borax was a staple in every American household. Families used it in laundry soap, toothpaste, mouthwash, ceramic glaze, skin products, and general cleaning. The 20-mule team brand became one of the most recognized trademarks in the country. But there was one use of borax the industry would eventually prefer you forget entirely: pest control. Grandmothers across the country were mixing a spoonful of borax with a spoonful of sugar, setting it near ant trails, and watching entire colonies vanish within days. No protective equipment, no hazard labels, no $300 invoice from a man in a white truck. Just a powder that cost a few cents, and a recipe passed down through generations like a family heirloom. It worked so well that by 1948, boric acid was formally registered as a pesticide in the United States. By 1971, a scientific study described using borax in bait form to control ants in homes. By 1987, it had been proven effective against pharaoh ants in controlled laboratory conditions. By 1993, there were 189 federally registered pesticides containing borax on the books. Today, that number has climbed past 500. all built around the same dirt-cheap mineral your great-grandmother kept under the kitchen sink. But here's the part nobody mentions on television, or in the pest control pamphlets, or in those friendly brochures the exterminator leaves on your counter. Stay with me, because what comes next is where this gets heavy, and I'll show you the exact mechanism in 60 seconds. But first, 30 seconds, I've collected everything the pest control and outdoor industry doesn't want you to know, all in one place. The complete forbidden camping vault. Natural pest elimination methods that cost pennies and outperform commercial chemical poisons in independent testing. Emergency shelter designs that cost nothing in materials and beat $200 retail tents in every controlled field test. The complete 72-hour blackout checklist that walks you through every scenario a total grid failure can throw at your household. Plus food preservation without refrigeration, DIY water filtration, and over a dozen more guides, no filler. The link is in the first line of the description. But stay right here. The video is just getting started. Now let me show you the science the exterminator standing in your kitchen hopes you never learn. Here's exactly how borax kills a colony from the inside out. When a foraging worker finds the borax and sugar mixture, it does not die on contact. That is the absolute genius of this substance, and it's why surface sprays can never compete. Borax disrupts the ant's digestive system at the cellular level, slowly wrecking its metabolism and dehydrating the insect from the inside. But the process is gradual, 24 to 48 hours, which means the poisoned worker has plenty of time to do exactly what its biology demands. Carry food back to the nest. The worker returns to the colony, regurgitates the contaminated sweet mixture, and feeds it directly to other workers, to the developing larvae, and ultimately to the queen herself. Scientists call this trophallaxis, the mouth-to-mouth food sharing that holds every ant colony on the planet together. It's the same behavior that lets a single colony of 50,000 ants function as one superorganism, sharing nutrients and chemical signals through an unbroken chain of regurgitation. That is the mechanism that makes colonies almost impossible to kill with surface sprays, because sprays only kill the workers you can see. The queen, the larvae, and the deep nest stay untouched. But borax doesn't attack the surface. It infiltrates the supply chain, and it turns the colony's greatest evolutionary strength into its fatal weakness. As the foragers travel between the bait and the nest, they lay down pheromone trails that actively recruit more workers to the food source. More ants come, more poison floods into the nest, and the cascade becomes unstoppable. The queen eats the contaminated food, her egg production collapses, and the entire colony disintegrates from the center outward. One application. $1. Colony death. If you've made it this far, you already know more about ant control than 99% of homeowners in this country. Subscribe and share this with someone still paying $250 every spring for a man to spray the same active ingredient you can buy for $4 at the grocery store. Now stay with me, because you might be wondering whether borax actually works on the specific species crawling across your counter. Let me put that to rest. Borax is lethal to carpenter ants, odorous house ants, pavement ants, sugar ants, fire ants, and Argentine ants. Every species that sends workers out foraging for food is vulnerable, because every ant species on Earth shares food through the exact same biological mechanism. The National Pest Management Association surveyed pest professionals nationwide and found that 100% had treated ant infestations that year. Carpenter ants topped the list at 66%, followed by odorous house ants at 62% and pavement ants at 59%. And more than half of those professionals said infestations are growing across the country year over year. Here are the numbers that should make every homeowner angry. About half of all American households deal with an ant problem every single year, making ants the #1 pest in the entire United States. Not cockroaches, not mice, not termites. Ants. Scientists estimate there are 20 quadrillion ants alive on this planet right now, a 20 followed by 15 zeros. The average colony holds anywhere from 10,000 to 500,000 workers, all connected through the same food-sharing network that one spoonful of borax can dismantle from the inside. So why isn't every homeowner simply using it? Why does a $26 billion pest control industry exist to solve a problem a $4 box of powder already solved more than a century ago? Because you cannot build a subscription business around a product the customer only needs to buy once. The entire pest control model is engineered around one concept: recurring revenue. Industry analysts going further to confirm that the average pest control company earns between 70 and 85% of its annual revenue from monthly or quarterly service agreements, not one-time permanent solutions. Ongoing contracts that bill your card every quarter for as long as you own the home. Think carefully about what that means for the advice they give you when they walk through your front door. The company that shows up does not profit by solving your ant problem permanently. It profits by managing it indefinitely. Just well enough that you keep renewing, but never well enough that you stop calling. A one-time borax application that wipes out the colony in 24 hours is the single worst possible outcome for their bottom line. The average homeowner pays between $150 and $300 for a single professional ant treatment. Severe carpenter ant infestations can run as high as $100 for one intervention. And most exterminators recommend quarterly plans costing $400 to $500 a year, every year, for as long as you own the house. Over 10 years, that's $4,000 to $5,000 spent on a problem a handful of white powder and a teaspoon of sugar could have solved on day one. Now multiply that across the tens of millions of American households that deal with ants, and you start to understand why the industry prayed you'd never see this video. You cannot patent borax. It's a naturally occurring mineral pulled straight from the earth. You cannot force a customer to repurchase a proprietary formula every season. You cannot manufacture dependence on a product that sits on the same shelf as laundry detergent and costs less than a cup of coffee. The entire economic architecture of pest control requires customers who don't know what their grandparents already knew. So borax had to be repositioned, not banned outright, because that would raise too many questions, just quietly buried under an avalanche of branded products, licensing requirements, certification programs, and marketing campaigns designed to convince the average homeowner that killing ants is a job for a trained specialist. It is not. They spent decades building a wall of complexity around a problem your grandmother solved with a mixing bowl. Let me tear that wall down right now. Here's exactly what to do. Go to any grocery store, hardware store, or pharmacy and pick up a box of 20 Mule Team Borax. It costs about $4, and a single box will last you years of treatments across multiple seasons. In a small, clean bowl, combine 1 tablespoon of borax with 3 tablespoons of regular white granulated sugar. The ratio is critical, so pay attention here. 3 parts sugar to 1 part borax. Too much borax, and the ants detect that something is wrong with the food and refuse the bait entirely. Too little, and the workers survive long enough for the colony to adapt and recover. 3 to 1 is the proven sweet spot that university entomologists and even commercial pest product makers are admired to have relied on for decades. Now add about a quarter cup of warm water and stir slowly until the sugar and borax fully dissolve into a clear, viscous syrup, roughly the consistency of pancake batter. Take clean cotton balls, soak them thoroughly in the mixture, and place them directly along the ant trails you've spotted. In the kitchen, the bathroom, along baseboards, under cabinets, or near any visible entry point. If the ants in your home seem to prefer protein over sweets, which some species do seasonally, mix 1 teaspoon of borax with 2 tablespoons of peanut butter instead. Form it into a thick paste and place small amounts on wax paper or inside plastic bottle caps near the activity zones. Now here's the most important rule of this entire process, and it's the one that separates success from failure. Do not kill the ants you see walking to the bait. I know the instinct is to squish them or spray them, but you have to resist it completely. This is where 90% of people fail, and it's exactly what the pest industry counts on. If you kill the foraging workers, you destroy the delivery mechanism. The colony survives underground, the queen keeps producing thousands of eggs a day, and you end up calling the exterminator out of frustration, which is precisely how their model works. Leave the workers alive. Let them feast on the syrup, and let them carry that sweet, toxic payload straight into the heart of the nest. Within hours, you'll actually see more ants than before, swarming the bait in thick, organized lines. This is not failure. This is total victory in motion. They're recruiting the colony's entire workforce, laying pheromone highways directly to your trap, summoning every available body to the poison buffet. By the next morning, the trail slows to a trickle. By 48 hours, the colony is in full collapse. The queen has ingested the contaminated food. Her egg production shuts down, and the remaining workers scatter, disoriented, unable to find a chemical signal to follow. Refresh the bait once more after a few days to catch any stragglers or satellite colonies, and the job is done. One homeowner in the South reported that after 3 full years of paying a quarterly pest service, he set out the borax mixture on a Friday night and had 0 ant activity by Sunday morning. His annual pest bill had been over $500. His borax application cost him about 12 cents. Now, I need to be transparent with you about something, because honesty is what separates this channel from the industry that profits off your confusion. Borax is classified as low toxicity for humans and household pets, but it is not completely harmless if swallowed in large quantities. It's considered safe for household use, but you should still take basic precautions. Keep bait stations out of reach of small children and animals. Use enclosed containers like plastic bottle caps, placed behind appliances or inside cabinets, where only ants can crawl in. And always wash your hands thoroughly after handling the mixture. This is still a pesticide, even though it's a naturally occurring mineral. But compared to the synthetic chemical cocktails professional exterminators routinely spray across your kitchen counters, inside your wall cavities, and along the baseboards where your kids and pets crawl, borax carries one of the lowest toxicity profiles of any registered pesticide in the country. This knowledge didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because a $26 billion industry needed it to. Every single spring, half of all American households wage the exact same war their great-grandparents already won with a spoonful of white powder from the laundry shelf. The ants didn't change. The powder didn't change. The only thing that changed is who profits from your ignorance. Borax is still sitting on that shelf right now, still about $4, still waiting for you to remember what they spent billions making you forget. If this video made a difference, subscribe and share it with every homeowner you know who's still writing quarterly checks to an exterminator for a problem their grandmother solved for free. Every share preserves what the industry tried to erase from public memory. Every subscription keeps this vault open for the next person who needs it. The next vault opens soon, and what the industry hid inside that one is even heavier.